Welcome to HB Reddit Stories. Today we will see stories of r/am I the a-hole. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister I get it, she's jealous and still a virgin, after she told me I'd look better in a red wedding dress? I, 29F, just got married. My sister, Tara, 27F, and I have never had the best relationship. She's always been pretty insecure, and growing up, there was a lot of tension between us. I've always tried to be sensitive to it, but it's been hard because she has a tendency to lash out in passive-aggressive ways. It got much worse when I got into a college that she didn't get into. At my wedding, I was mingling with the guest and Tara came up to me and told me that I would have looked better in red. It's an insult, basically saying the bride should be in red is calling them a bad woman. That they are not pure enough to wear white. I told her, I get it, Tara. You're jealous, and still a virgin, but this isn't the time to make your insecurities my problem. I didn't shout, but my tone was harsh. Tara stormed off, and I could tell some people overheard. My brother later told me I was out of line and should apologize, that I humiliated her in front of everyone. Tara wants an apology and I was being a jerk. My dad and mom told me she will have to get over it because this has been an ongoing issue. Top comments. Info: why isn't your brother insisting she apologize? OP replies. He's always been on her side, really doesn't matter why. Whole childhood those two stuck together no matter what. I think he feels bad for her, but I am unsure. Not the a-hole. Don't do the crime if you can't do the time. Don't dish out what you can't take back in return. These are sayings for a reason. What's the alternative? Take it up the butt and say, please ma'am, may I have another? What do they seriously expect you to do? So she can essentially call you a bad woman in front of those same guests but you can't respond appropriately and firmly to defend yourself at your own wedding? Not the a-hole. I'm certainly glad your parents have your back on this, but I can't figure out for the life of me what your siblings' deal is. They seem to have an enmeshed relationship with each other. In any case, I hope your wedding day was beautiful outside of that. Good luck in your life together. You are not the a-hole and your mom and dad are right. Tara will have to get over her jealousy and learn to deal with her own feelings more appropriately. By the way, kudos to your parents for not urging you to apologize to Tara just to keep the family peace. I've read ever so many letters from people whose parents pressure them like crazy to apologize/knuckle under to outrageously obnoxious family members in the interests of family harmony. Those parents are so terrified of conflict that they'll throw their own kids under the bus just to shut up the loudest, most spoiled and selfish member of the family if that family member squawks loudly enough. Of course, all this does is to reward that family member and encourage them to go right on acting like a brat. Your parents are wise enough to see that this never works and that your sister can and should be held to a higher standard. Seriously, Opie, good for you and good for your parents. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my mom it's time to lawyer up? My mom moved in with after she sold her home to avoid medical bankruptcy. Things have been rocky because my mom was always my house my rules type of person. I have an older brother Scott who helped my mom with home repairs, but Scott and my wife do not get along so he doesn't come over much. Me and my wife went away for a weekend getaway and Scott and my mom repainted our living room white. It was navy with built-in bookcases and pantry. The job was done so crappy and the original paint job with the bookcase cost us thousands to remodel. My wife started crying and my mom and brother said they wanted to brighten the place up for my mom. I didn't know this at the time but my wife called my sister-in-law, my wife's brother wife, who is a lawyer, and the contractor who originally did the work on our living room remodel. My wife is getting ready to press suit against my mother and Scott and has already handed my mom legal eviction notice. It's deserved and I back it 100% because this paint job was done so crappy and without the homeowner's permission. My mom is saying with an eviction for property damage she will not be able to find a place and my wife needs to stop. My wife has installed cameras in the home and is getting the court orders in place for my mom and brother. My wife's family is paying for this and at this point I'm afraid to say crap because I feel like if I protest too much the big divorce will come and with my wife's sister-in-law as a lawyer I don't want to mess with the situation because it's a crap show. My brother told me my mom has rights and I said I guess it's time for my mom to lawyer up on her dime because I'm not touching this and it's my wife's lawyers pushing things through, I did sign off on the lawsuit and possible criminal charges coming. My mom said she would contest the eviction and I need to man up and make my wife do the right thing and drop the eviction and lawsuit. Top comments. Not the a-hole for telling your mom to lawyer up, you are the a-hole for not immediately demanding your mom and brother fix the problem, politely asking your mom to move out, and otherwise defending your wife against your crappy family. OP replies. I don't want them to touch anything else in the house. The paint job was so crappy and I want the original licensed contractor to fix it. Everyone sucks here except your wife. Your mother is completely outrageous. What she did is way beyond what tenant, guest, or in-law should do. Your brother is a complete moron. He knew you were out of town and never stopped to think that maybe you wouldn't want the home you remodeled painted. Your mom is concerned about her. You have been entirely too neutral. There is no staying out of this. Your wife is going so ballistic and so extreme because you are not taking a stand. You should have immediately when you walked into your home and your wife began to cry. Tell your mother to pack her crap and get the hell out. If your mother does not want an eviction with property damage on her record, I suggest she pack her crap and get the hell out of your house. That is the only way to resolve this. If she insists on trying to fight it, then I guess she'll have to deal with the record. You are the a-hole for being spineless. Clearly, you did nothing when you discovered that your mother and brother had done what amounted to thousands of dollars worth of damage. Your wife doesn't get along with your brother because he's an a-hole, and so is your mother. I have zero sympathy for you, your mother, or your brother. Info: did you actually tell your mom to lawyer up? Have you done anything here except stay out of it? Because according to your story, it's your wife and her family pushing everything, and you are doing your best not to say anything to anyone. I'm still going to say you are the a-hole, though, because you really do need to pick a side here. Either your mother is wrong or your wife is wrong. Frankly, it's your mother, and you need to support one side or the other for whatever reason works for you. OP replies. It went down as I said, brother, our mom has rights. Me, I guess she should lawyer up, on her dime. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not checking in on my ex and he nearly died? I, 35F, recently separated from my fiancé, 35M, due to his excessive drinking, but we are still close and regularly see each other. After taking him to the ER overnight, I brought him home and he said he just wanted to chill solo, so I left. I attempted to message him, but didn't hear back. This is unusual for him, however I wanted to respect his boundaries. Late that night, 10 p.m., my ex's mom woke me up calling to ask me to go over there and check on him. I had a key and she doesn't. I declined to because I had just been woken up and figured that he was just ignoring both of us because he was drinking. And to be frank, I'm sick of the drinking and having to care for him. I'm sick of begging him to do things like get out of a urine-soaked bed so I can try to get him clean and dry. I'm sick of the relentless drunk screaming and crying. I'm burned out. She ended up calling for a welfare check, and when the police came he was drunk and severely ill. The doctor said he probably would have died if he hadn't been brought in that night. It was to the point that the hospital refused to release him when he tried to leave AMA and got the police and county attorney involved to force him to stay. His mom was pissed at me and refused to tell me, so I only found out a couple of days later that he is in the ICU on a ventilator. I feel incredibly guilty that had it been in my hands alone, someone I care about would be dead, so I came here to either relieve my guilt or be deservedly raked over the coals. Top comments. Not the a-hole, not even a little. He's not your responsibility. You took him to the ER, that was nice of you. His mom had other options, especially if you declined on the phone. She could have gone. Without a key, she could have used police to do a welfare check earlier. He is not your responsibility, even as a friend. He's a grown man with a drinking problem. That's sad. But it's his issue, his responsibility. For your own sanity, please back away from the situation some and let him get help on his own. Then you can be his friend. You can't be his friend and his ex and his therapist and his Uber driver and his sponsor and his ambulance and his nurse and his janitor. And be taking care of your own mental health here too. First off, I'm really sorry you're dealing with such a difficult situation. It sounds like you've been through a lot, and it's completely understandable that you feel both guilt and exhaustion from everything. You aren't obligated to be your ex's caretaker, especially after the breakup and when his drinking has caused you so much pain and burnout. Setting boundaries is essential, and it seems like you tried to respect his wishes when he wanted to be left alone. It's tough because, in hindsight, things escalated in a way you couldn't have fully anticipated. That said, the guilt you're feeling is valid too. It's natural to care about someone you were once so close to, but that doesn't mean you should sacrifice your own mental health for them. His mom being angry is likely a reflection of her fear and grief, and while it's tough, her anger doesn't mean you did something wrong. You did what many people would have done in your shoes. Ultimately, it's important to give yourself grace. You're human, and you are dealing with a complicated mix of emotions, exhaustion, and frustration. Now, focus on healing from this, and remember that you can care about someone without being responsible for their choices or health. You're not the a-hole for prioritizing your own well-being, especially after everything you've been through. Not the a-hole. Your ex is no longer your responsibility to care for or check in on, and his mother needs to understand that this is a result of his drinking, not your inaction. Ex's mom is scared that she's going to lose her son to his addiction, but instead of acting productively by holding her son accountable for his behavior, she's blaming others because it's easier and safer and addiction is difficult. I also wonder how much enabling she does because man oh man do enablers get mad when someone else sets healthy boundaries and steps back. There is only one person responsible for your ex ending up in the ICU, and that's your ex himself. He and he alone drank himself there. Please focus on yourself, cut your ex and his mother off, and reach out to support groups for family members and friends of those suffering from addiction. They can help you understand, heal, and set healthy boundaries to protect yourself going forward. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to hang up the artwork my girlfriend got me for my birthday? My 26th birthday was a few weeks ago. My girlfriend 24 and her friend are into things that I find a little outlandish and weird. I love her and her uniqueness and I appreciate what she does, but I do think some of their habits and interests are unusual. We do not live together. She's made comments about how I need more artwork and I agreed. She got me artwork. A homemade piece of artwork that she was given the idea through TikTok or something. Her best friend also did the same thing for her boyfriend. The best I can describe it is like she made a print of her butt and legs/thighs on a canvas. It's like she sat in paint and then sat on the canvas. Or something like that. Honestly, it must have turned out really well because you can clearly tell it's in butt and legs. The problem just arose recently because she came over and found the painting in my closet. She asked why it's not up and I tried to dance around it. I did tell her the truth, that my parents stop by sometimes and I didn't want them to see it. She started telling me that the picture is beautiful and I should want to embrace her, and some more lines about how I should embrace our intimacy. I told her that honestly I find it off-putting. I think it is weird and borderline creepy. I told her I am very uncomfortable hanging up something like that, and if she checked with me first I would have told her. She asked if I truly wasn't going to hang it up. I told her no, I will never consider putting that on my walls, but I appreciate the thought. She started crying, said I'm an ungrateful a-hole, and she took the painting and said she will hang it up at her place. She said her friend's boyfriend loves the one he got, so she can't get why I'm being such a jerk about this. I don't think I'm a jerk for not wanting an, albeit artistic, nude of my girlfriend on my walls. Top comments. Not the a-hole. That's the kind of gift you only get someone if they're 100% into nude artwork and are comfortable with displays of sexual intimacy. Plus the length of your relationship comes into play here. I wouldn't want the butt of my girlfriend of 6 months on the wall, but girlfriend of 2 years could be a different story. Opie replies. We have been together for almost 2 years. I still don't want her butt on my wall. Not the a-hole. I think you handled it well. Maybe ask if she could paint something else that plays into her creativity and still meets your boundaries. Opie replies. I did. She gave me a response like she got me a birthday gift and I'm an a-hole for being like, make me a different gift, I didn't like the first one. Not the a-hole. Artwork in one's home is very personal and you shouldn't have to display something you don't like, especially when said artwork is just her sitting in paint. I've seen that trend. Personally I think it's tacky and stupid, but to each their own. And your opinion is no. Go to a local art fair or Etsy or something and find some pieces you like. Not the a-hole. I wouldn't want my partner of over a decade's body art on any of my walls either. But that art isn't to my tastes, nor would I want my body displayed for randos and strangers to view in someone else's home. It might just be that you have very different tastes in artwork and are incompatible in how sexually explicit you're willing to have your home decor. The comments about it being creepy would be worse if she hadn't kept pushing on the issue. If you were polite about it until backed into a corner, it's somewhat understandable. I assume your girlfriend was expecting her sexual vulnerability to be met with a similar appreciation her friend got, and she's reacting badly because society doesn't condition women well for the idea that they may be sexually rejected in any way. I hadn't heard of this on TikTok, but my friend has mentioned a similar thing happening on reality shows she watches where they had couples make these paintings together. I don't watch those, but I think it was The Bachelor/Bachelorette. The concept has always seemed extremely awkward to me, unless you have a really specific art taste. It seems weird to explicitly display yourself, even in paint form, for whatever guests you have over. And that seems like a really weird thing to decorate around. This also is a terrible gift. She wanted you to have more artwork. She wanted you to respond to her in an appreciatively way. It's in the same vein as gifting, wearing lingerie, and has a lot of the same issues as that concept does. Edit. This seems to have some responses that seem a little sexist, that people should desire objectifying a woman's body and think OP should compromise more in some way to display it in his personal space. I think responses would be very different if a guy made a clone of Willy into the base of a table lamp and his girlfriend didn't want that on her bedside table or in a small apartment where guests see most of the space. OP Repleasy don't think I would consider lingerie a gift either. I don't think sex stuff should be a gift in relationships. Next story. Am I the a-hole for throwing out my kids' food? When I was a child, my mother had no concept of what is healthy food. If it said diet on the box, it was okay. She would serve me cereal for breakfast. Dinners was often processed ready-to-eat junk or McDonald's. After school snacks was cookies and Little Debbie. My mom is obese and I was almost 300 pounds when I graduated high school. It was only after I moved out that I realized how unhealthy I was, and it took me years to lose that childhood weight and establish good eating habits. My wife has always had them and was brought up by a family that didn't trust processed foods. My family and I now follow a whole food diet for ourselves. My mom had a heart attack and is almost 400 pounds. This is her third heart attack and she wasn't able to make rent, so now she is living with me and recovering at my home. She has been to a nutritionist multiple times for her weight and acts like she is too stupid to understand what they are saying, or acts like no one really eats like that, or the doctors and nurses are bullying her because of her weight. She has been ordering junk food and takeout on apps like Instant Cart and Uber Eats. She has been feeding my kids the same junk food, even after I have told her to stop. I hear the Ring camera go off and my youngest child gets my mom's latest McDonald's order. My mom got both of my kids a Happy Meal. This was the third time she has done this week. I took my kids' Happy Meal and tossed them in the trash and poured cleaner on top of them. I told my mom if wants to eat herself to death, that's okay with me, but do not kill my children like you almost killed me as a child with this trash. Things got heated because my mom was crying, saying she doesn't know any better and one Happy Meal will not hurt my children. I told her this is the third one this week, and if she gives my children junk again she will find herself in a nursing home. My mom cried and cried, saying I was mean to her and all the doctors do is bully her. She just wants to live her life. I told her she's not living her best life, she's eating herself to death. My mom called me a bully and told my children I was a bully and not to act like me in school. I told my mom I'm fed up with her and I'm looking at nursing homes later that week, and I'm not having her bring this lifestyle into my home around my children. Top comments. Absolutely not the a-hole, your house, your kids, your rules. What was your kids' reaction to all this? In an age-appropriate way, I'd be honest with them and explain why that food isn't healthy food, and that yes, maybe it can be a sometimes food, but if you eat sometimes food too much, you can get sick like grandma. I feel bad for how intentionally ignorant your mom is being and risking her relationship with her grandkids for McDonald's. It sounds like she has some mental disorder that's causing her to blame literally everyone and everything else for her problems and never takes responsibility. I'd keep on the track of getting her in a home because I wouldn't want that attitude rubbing off on my kids. OP replies. The older one 10 thinks I'm a bully because he said it's wrong to bully people overweight in school. That I completely agree with as a former obese child, but I telling him grandma is sick from all the food she ate. It's a difficult conversation because I don't want my children to start on good food versus bad food. That brings in other problems. Info: did you at least take out the toy before throwing them out? OP replies: I did. I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, make sure like, comment, share and subscribe the channel HB Reddit Stories.